Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Agent Carter, Season 1, Episode 5, The Iron Ceiling, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode because of last week's episode. I thought last week's episode really delivered and really made me excited for the rest of the season, and this episode definitely not disappoint. This was by far the best episode of the season. I absolutely loved this episode, and I really love that we're starting to focus more on Dottie's character. I definitely really enjoyed that about this episode. Now, quick thing I will say about this episode, guys. If I forget something about this episode, if I forgot something about, what happened in this episode, that is because of the fact that there was a plane crash that happened in my area. It's somewhere near me. I don't know where it was, but for whatever reason, ABC, the news, was showing coverage of the crash and everything 2 times. So if I missed something, that is why, just so you guys know. Because I know you guys are going to comment, like, why didn't you talk about this? Well, that's just because I didn't see it. So, I can't really comment on something I didn't see. So, let's just get to this episode, because overall, I thought it was a great episode. Absolutely loved it, and let's just talk about it. So, the way the episode started was very, very weird. I didn't really know how to think, what was really going on in the first scene. But we see a girl wakes up, and she's handcuffed to a bed in what looks like an orphanage. And a woman walks in and uncuffs her, and the other girl's in the room. The girl has hidden food that she shares with another girl, and it's very strange. You can definitely tell this is very weird. There's definitely something off about where she is. And in the classroom, all these girls are watching Snow White, and it's the creepiest thing ever, because this is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They're literally repeating every single line. Like, I've seen people, like, try to say lines, but this is, like, literally, they are literally imitating lines, and, like, they're in class, and, like, that's what their class is, that they're imitating lines from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Why? I don't know, but it's very creepy, and it was very well done. And, outside, the girls are brutally fighting until, while the supervisor watching, one kills the other, and, that was insane. Honestly, you know what that reminded me of, guys? It really reminded me of sort of like the Hunger Games, but then we realize that this is actually all just a dream that Dottie is having, and pretty crazy. But what I gathered from that is that I think that is her training when she was becoming one of the, in the Black Widow project, because as I said, that's what Dottie is a part of, is the Black Widow project. So I definitely feel like that's really what was going on there, is that those girls were trained to be in the Black Widow project, and I think Dottie is starting to think back at that, and I really like seeing that with Dottie's character, because we saw a lot of really good stuff with her character last episode, and the stuff with her character was actually stuff I was most looking forward to that episode, so I really like that we saw more of that. So she starts doing, she starts to sit up, and she meets Peggy at the diner, and offers to share bread with her, and she wants to tour the city, but Peggy's not listening to her, because she's distracted by Jarvis's card she finds in her purse, and she snaps out of it, rips the card up, and then tells Dottie to avoid the tourist traps and visit Brooklyn to see the real city, and Dottie tells Peggy she sounds just like Captain America, and she knocks over Peggy's purse, dives to clean up the mess. Peggy leaves Dottie, who palmed Peggy's apartment key. You can definitely tell those two are getting very close, and I'm starting to think that Dottie might actually know what Peggy's actually doing. I don't know. I'm thinking that, maybe because she's the Black Widow, she's part of the Black Widow project, maybe it's that she, I think that maybe she might know what's going on, because, she might have been working with her, I don't know, but I feel like she knows what's going on. I don't know why, but I think she does. So Peggy runs into Jarvis at the newsstand, and Peggy doesn't want to hear what he has to say. She's pretty upset about Jarvis, because obviously she knew what Jarvis and Howard Stark did, and she does not want anything to do with either of them right now. So I like seeing that. So Peggy, she's pretty pissed at them, and Jarvis is defending Howard Stark as a good man, despite his many flaws, and Jarvis tells Peggy that her attempts to gain the respect of her SSR colleagues is doomed, because it's not going to happen now. And Peggy arrives at the office, and she is not going to take that for an answer. She's not going to think, nope, I'm not going to listen to him. And I love that about Peggy's character. So that anyone stand in her way. And I love that about her character. She's such a can-do, she has such a can-do attitude, and I love that about her character. So Peggy runs into, she arrives at the office where everyone's trying to decipher a coded message that came through the typewriter, and Peggy takes it to realize it was written in Russian, and that allows her to crack the code, and that's its map coordinates and a drop date from Leviathan to acquire a Havoc reactor in Belarus. this is the first must of the SSR I've heard of Leviathan. But all that Roger knows is the tale. So the payment is said to be for Howard Stark, and Peggy demands to be included on the mission to Russia, but of course Jack disagrees. He doesn't think that she is good for this, he doesn't think that she deserves it, and one of the things I really like about this episode is seeing Peggy try to get the trust of the SSR. That really was the main storyline of this episode, because I think we focused on that, but I don't think we focused on it enough, and this episode we focused on it so much, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So she makes the point that she's the only one who can read the code, but Jack doesn't want to babysit her. Carter displays her experience and knowledge, but Jack isn't impressed, and Roger 1 doesn't want to risk being liable for sending a woman into the field because they know what that could do to them, and they don't want to be responsible for that. So she asked her what happened if she could deliver the 107th, and Roger says she could pack her bag. Peggy leaves, and Roger says he doesn't have time for Jack's crush on Peggy. And Peggy returns with confirmation that the 107th will meet them, and Roger agrees to let her go, and they actually agreed to let her do this, and I thought this was going to be an epic fail for Peggy. I really did. I mean, this is season 1. I didn't think things were going to go well for her, but we'll talk about what ends up happening, but I did not think at this point things were going to go well. So she's forced to enter the men's locker room to change into tactical deal, and Jack and the men are not pleased with her inclusion on the team. Obviously they're not. They don't think that she is prepped for this, because of course back then, you know, this all goes back to the idea of women not really being fit for the job. They feel that, you know, because she's a woman, she's not fit for the job, and she shouldn't be on, you know, working on this job. So they really don't think that she should, you know, be working on it, and they don't really. Not that they don't trust her, but that they don't really think that she is equipped for this job. So, obviously, they're very skeptical about what's going on there. And I like seeing it overall, because it was cool to see her kind of prove them wrong in this episode. We do actually get to see that, which I definitely enjoyed seeing. So, basically, they talk about the new gear they're using, and Souza shows up with intelligence. And Jack tricks Souza into walking in on Peggy, and Souza notices a mark on Peggy's shoulder, which is very interesting. I mean, it didn't seem like a huge deal, but that comes back into play later with something else that is very important that I definitely want to talk about, and that is, you know, what the whole thing with something I'll get to, but basically that actually ends up being very important. And Peggy and the rest of Jack's team get ready to jump and hopefully meet the 107th. They land and start moving. They meet the 107th, who turns out to be Dum Dum Dugan, who of course worked alongside Captain America. So naturally, Jack's team is a little bit starstruck, and I like seeing that because Jack's team thinks they're like so powerful, and I like seeing that Jack's team like be sort of like taken aback by Dum Dum Dugan. And I really like Dum Dum Dugan's character. I mean, we've seen him before. We know he's fought alongside Captain America, and it was cool to see Dum Dum Dugan again. And basically, he changes the plan to a less direct route over the Russian border and has some trucks to help them make up the distance. And in the back of one of the trucks, Peggy gives Dugan a bottle of bourbon, and they share a drink. And he asks about Howard and Leviathan, and Peggy fills him in, notes that they are almost certainly being lured into a trap, and Peggy throws out Dugan's cigar, and I like that he knows what's going on. He says she used to be fun, and she says she did once upon a time, and Dugan says he misses him too, and I like seeing that because it just shows that she's still grieving over Steve, which is natural why she's grieving over Steve. I mean, Steve, she really did care about the guy, and obviously she is very upset that Steve is gone, and obviously she's still grieving over him, which I like seeing. I like seeing Dugan tell her, you know what, you need to get over him, but I thought it was very well done at the same time. Definitely really enjoyed that scene, and I agree that, yeah, she does need to get over Steve. So Roger's leaving the office and says goodnight to Souza, and Souza gets a file on Peggy and notices a note about bullet wounds on her shoulder. And he goes back through the photos from Spider's Club and sees the same marks on the blonde. Now, of course, Souza has no idea what's going on. And I feel really bad for him because Souza is now discovering things that he should not, and he's now starting to connect the dots, definitely. Sousa's, and I never thought that Souza would be the one to connect the dots, but honestly, Souza should be the most suspicious. I mean, Peggy's been so secret to him and has blown him off so many times, and there's so many things that he's one, he really cares about Peggy and everything. So he obviously doesn't know what's really going on there. So I understand why he's so suspicious, but at the same time, I really do feel bad for Peggy because if Souza should not have been the first one to connect the dots, but he clearly is starting to get a lot of evidence here because he knows that there's bullet wounds, and now he sees the blonde, and he's starting to put things together, which is sad at the same time, but at the same time, you can understand why he's doing it. So Peggy, the SS Army, and the Howling Commandos sit around a campfire eating and trading stories, and Peggy asks Jack about his Navy Cross, and he tells them about how he fell asleep on night shift and woke up to see 6 Japanese soldiers walking into his camp. He woke up just in time to shoot them all just before they killed his commanding officer, and before they even knew he was there, and that was actually really sad to see, but I like getting character development with Jack's characters. I mean, Jack's kind of been a bit of a cold-hearted character. Like, he really seemed like the kind of character that hasn't been very, sweet to Peggy and everything. And I definitely like seeing that about his character. I mean, I definitely really like that. I mean, we saw that from, Roger and Jack really been the two characters. Jack hasn't gotten too much. I mean, Roger hasn't gotten too much character development, but we're really getting a lot more with Jack, which I like seeing. Because I think, honestly, Jack is a very good character. Everyone in the show, I think, is a very good character. That's one of the things I love about Agent Carter more than Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that Agent Carter, everyone's such a better character. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has very good characters, don't get me wrong. But sometimes they feel very wooden out of place, and in this show, they never feel out of place. And I love that about Agent Carter. It's so much more, to the point and just by the numbers, and I love that about it. And that's one of the things I just love. I love about Agent Carter, and basically, I really like getting that character development with his character, and I thought that was very well done. So Roger meets with a reporter in a bar to ask about the Battle of Finau, and the man wrote an article about the battle implicating the Army and Howard in a cover-up, but his editor killed it, and the man reveals that Howard was there for cleanup and punched a general, and the general beat up Howard, then resigned a week later, and Howard walked away from a lucrative contract with the government, and the general died about a month ago. So that's pretty crazy that we found that out, and they're starting, of course, to find out more about Howard. And so, of course, now that now we know the general died and everything, and basically, I find that very interesting of what's going on there, because I mean, obviously, he's hiding something, and anytime they're talking about Stark, I'm like, they're gonna find out what's going on with Peggy, because we have 3 episodes left after this, and things are not gonna end well. So Peggy and company arrive at the location and move in, and it looks like the same school that Dottie dreamed about, which I thought was very interesting when we saw this, because at first I was thinking Dottie's over-exaggerating, but she's not, because it literally is just that creepy. They go into the school, and right away Peggy notices some very weird subliminal messages instill fear. They hear this child crying, they go to investigate, and they find a bedroom with shackles on all the beds, and this girl's crying. It's a very creepy scene. I really do love that they did this, because it's very well done. Agent Carter, one of the other things I love about Agent Carter is that they play with your emotions. This show can make you laugh, cry, and scare you at the same time. This episode was genuinely creepy, and I never thought I'd say that about the show, and I definitely really enjoyed the show, play with my emotions like that. That was very well done. So Duggan approaches the girl. The girl pulls out a knife, stabs him, takes a gun, shoots Junior, then escapes. And Dugan's vest took most of the stab, but the Junior is dead. And that was just crazy when that happened. I didn't expect that to happen at all. And that was definitely pretty insane what happened there, definitely. I mean, very crazy, and probably one of the craziest things we've had in the show so far. And I really love that the show went that far, because I'm very happy the show did that. So Roger finds Jarvis on the street. He brings him the fight. He brings him the fight with the general, and Jarvis says he never heard anything about it. And Roger says he's only interested in finding the truth and wants to hear Howard's side of the story. That's what he's so interested in, finding out Howard's side of the story. So he knows if really what happens, why he beat up the general and everything. And we don't see Howard in this episode. So that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to in the next episode, is finding out, what really happened there. So we don't see Howard in this episode. So downstairs at the Russian boarding school, Peggy's team finds two men in a cell, and Dottie enters Peggy's room and starts searching, and she finds a hidden compartment in a dresser drawer, pulls out a box inside. She finds pictures of Howard's devices and crates from the ship. She puts them all back but keeps one photo, and she notices a picture of Steve Rogers on Peggy's mirror and begins looking at herself in it. And she starts talking like Peggy into it and smells Peggy's lipstick, and she takes a last look at the room and then she leaves. So that was very interesting what happened there. I mean, definitely it's very interesting what's going on there. And I think that really Dottie knows about Peggy's true identity. I think she knows what Peggy's doing. She knows how, I think she is hiding a lot from Peggy, definitely. Why is she hiding a lot from Peggy? Because I think she was assigned to help Peggy somehow. I don't know, but I definitely feel like, I know she's a good person. I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think she's a bad, one of the villains or anything. I think she's genuinely a good person, but there's a lot she's not telling Peggy. Now, why is she not telling Peggy? I personally do not know, but she's not telling Peggy for whatever reason. There's stuff she does not want her to know, and she's not telling her. So I'm very interested in seeing if she does tell her, because there's a clear reason why she's not, and I want to know why she's not. So the man in the cell reveals that Leviathan has them there to build a weapon they have to schematic form. One, Nikolai, is an engineer. The other is his psychiatrist, and the weapon is a protonic amplifier. They said they've heard nothing about Howard and that Leviathan stole the schematics so they wouldn't need Nikolai, and they're chased off by soldiers. Lai takes a bullet and falls. The young girl shows up with a rifle, shoots one of them in the leg, and this young girl is just so creepy. Nikolai takes Sawyer hostage, and Peggy and the psychiatrist try to talk him down, but in the end, the psychiatrist just shoots him, and Jack seems a bit shell-shocked. He did not expect this to go as crazy as it did. So Dugan busts down a wall to provide an exit, but Peggy has to snap Jack out of it to get him to move, and Peggy covers their exit, and they all escape to the trucks outside, and luckily they were okay there. They survived, and that was good to see, and I enjoyed seeing that overall. So basically, it seems like they are okay, and I really love the next scene because it's something I've been looking forward to in the show, something I was hoping they'd do. The SSR and Howling Commandos are saying their goodbyes, and Dugan offers Peggy a place with them, but she declines, and Peggy offers the psychiatrist a place back in New York, and he accepts that. And on the plane, Carter and Jack are discussing Jack's freezing up, and he reveals the soldiers he killed in Japan were waving a white flag. He didn't realize they were surrendering until he shot them. So he buried the flag before anyone else saw it, and he kind of feels bad about that, definitely. You can tell he feels bad, and I really like seeing that. The other thing I like about this episode is that the SSR now officially trust Peggy. They trust her. They think that she should be trusted, and I thought this was going to be like a failing mission, but no, it's made Peggy and Jack closer. It's made Peggy and Roger. Roger, I don't think so, but Peggy and Jack definitely they're a lot closer. Jack was very skeptical about what was going on with Peggy, and now I think the reason wasn't because I think he was honestly concerned about her safety, because, I mean, Roger talks about how he had a crush on her. Do I think that he has a crush on Peggy? I don't know. I like her and Souza, definitely, but I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I really do like that Jack is trusting Peggy now, because it's something I was most looking forward to see, is them trusting Peggy, and it seems like now some of them are trusting Peggy, which I like seeing. So back to the Griffith, Dottie goes to bed, handcuffs herself to the frame, and I think she's doing this because I think she's going crazy, I think she is, trying to figure out what exactly she should do, how she should reveal this to Peggy, because I definitely feel like she needs to reveal this to Peggy. She needs to tell Peggy what's going on, and because in order for Peggy to be honest with her, she has to be honest, with Peggy. I definitely feel like something else has to happen there. So I don't know exactly why she did that, but we'll see what happens in the next episode. So Jack and Peggy report back to Roger, and after they report, Roger has them send the psychiatrist in, and as Peggy is leaving, she notes Sousa's disheveled look. Sousa looks very disheveled, and Jack invites Sousa for drinks. And when Sousa turns him down, he invites Peggy, And definitely, I think that he is going to have a conversation with Peggy. I don't think he trusts Peggy right now. I think he knows that something is up with Peggy. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but he knows that something's up. And that's basically how the episode ended. And I cannot wait for next week's episode. Next week's episode looks amazing. I saw they showed the promo for it, and just I cannot wait for next week. Next week looks crazy because it looks like next week they're going to find out Peggy's true identity. And it's terrible that they're going to, because Peggy literally just saved all of their asses. She saved all their asses, and it's going to be really sad to see if they find out that, what she's actually doing. Howard Stark, I'm interested in seeing what Roger's going to do. Roger clearly does want to talk to Howard Stark, so what is he really going to do there? How does he plan on having this work out with Howard Stark? Is he going to do this without Peggy knowing? I think honestly, Howard's going to spill the beans, because I could definitely see Howard just saying, oh, I'm working with Peggy Carter. Howard totally seems like the kind of guy that just cover his own ass, so he'd make Peggy, seem like the worst one, because honestly, let's face it, Howard Stark's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. Tony Stark is kind of a dick, but Howard Stark is just like him. He's a dick who will always try to cover his own ass, and I think if he says if it has to do with, him revealing Peggy's secret, then so be it. I think that's what's going to happen. Souza, I definitely feel like Souza is going to find out very quickly about what's going on with Peggy, and I feel very bad for him, because I really do like Souza's character. But now it seems like her and Jack are getting very close. And I don't really know if this is a love triangle more than it is just she has two guys that likes her. Because I don't think she cares right now. I don't think Peggy really cares about a romance. And even though I want Peggy and Souza together, that's only because, as I said, we know that she married someone. So I'm trying to figure out. It's not Jarvis, I know that. So now I'm kind of thinking maybe it's Jack. I don't think she ends up with Souza. I think Souza is going to end up heartbroken now. I really do. Because what happened with Souza and Jack, her and Jack are getting so much closer. Her and Souza are very close, but I think Souza wants to get closer with her, and he definitely feels like she's hiding a lot from her, but also hiding stuff is Dottie. I'm definitely interested in seeing how Dottie is going to tell Peggy, because clearly I think she's getting ready to tell Peggy what her true identity is, and next week it looks like they're going to focus on that a lot more. And she's going to need to find out, because they're going to focus on that next week with the whole Black Widow situation. So I'm very interested in seeing how that's going to be. That is something that I am looking forward to the most, honestly. I can't wait to see what happens there. Jack, the whole thing with Jack in the general, I really like seeing. Again, I really want to hear Howard's perspective on what really happened with this whole bar fight that he was in, because that's going to be very interesting to see, because clearly something else happened that he's not telling everyone about, and I'm very interested in seeing what it is that he's lying about, because he's clearly lying about something, and we don't know what it is, but he's not telling the truth, and I'm interested in seeing what he's really lying about. I'm interested in seeing what is true, what's actually going on, because that could end up being very interesting to see what's really going on there. And overall, guys, we have 3 episodes left, and I gotta say, this was the episode that really sold me. I've been really into the show. As I said, last week really did sold me, but after this episode, I really feel like they're just gonna get better and better and better as it goes on, and I can't wait. That's one of the things I'm loving about Agent Carter. Let me explain why Agent Carter is so much better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Some people don't understand it, and I myself was trying to figure out why do I like this more than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm gonna tell you why. The storylines are more interesting, it's not confusing, it's not weird, it's not... Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a very good show, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first season was terrible. This is such a strong first season that honestly, I am sad that this is only a limited series. I really wish that they would just continue for the rest of the season, have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. be half the season, have Agent Carter be half a season. I'm fine with that. I wish they do that, but they're not going to do that, and it's really upsetting because I'm really enjoying Agent Carter, and we only have 3 episodes left, and that's kind of sad, but that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, by far best episode of the season, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for... I think a movie review, because I am going to watch a movie, but I'm going to tell you guys, if I watch this movie today, it's not going to be a good movie. It's a movie that's coming out on Friday that I don't want to see in theaters, but it's already on Solar Movie because it's been released in the UK, and if I do watch it, then it's going to be a rant. I know that for a fact. I know I'm not going to like it, and you guys will see what it is if I review it. I don't know if I'll review it today. I might, we'll see. I might rewatch it right now. I don't know, but I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.